Welcome back to the horror story channel Bong Toi Trong Dem, Darkness in the Night. Today, the channel is excited to introduce a ghost story titled The Crypt Under the Temple. Before we begin, if you find this story chilling, please give me a like and subscribe to support the channel. Thank you for listening. Now let's begin. Three young friends, Trung, Kai, and Hoi, were making their way along the winding mountain path leading up to Thien Long Temple. Abandoned for decades, the path was covered in green moss. Trees grew thick on both sides, and gusts of wind howled through the cliffs, sending chills down their spines. "Hey, are you guys sure this is the right way?" Hoi asked, leaning on his knees and panting heavily. "Don't worry, I got this old map from the architectural library. This has to be the way," Trung replied, holding up a yellowed sheet of paper, his eyes gleaming with curiosity. Kai walked silently at the back, his voice low. "They say this temple used to have an underground dungeon, and whoever went down there never came back. Gives me the creeps." Trung laughed it off, though a flicker of unease passed through his eyes. Little did they know, from the moment they stepped onto this path, darkness had already begun to follow them. The temple appeared at the top of the slope, its three-arched gate half collapsed. Blanketed in moss, the guardian statues on each side were cracked, their eyes seemingly following every step. "Good God, this temple looks terrifying," Hoi muttered, swallowing hard. But Trung's excitement grew. "The more desolate it is, the more archaeological value. Look at those statues, such intricate carvings. Probably from the 19th century. Kai stood in the courtyard, a sudden cold wind whipping his jacket. He frowned. "Wait, do you guys hear that? It sounds like a bell." All three froze. In the dead silence, there it was. Boong, boong, echoing from the pitch-black main hall. But in an abandoned temple, who could possibly be ringing a bell? The hall doors were ajar. When they pushed them open, a thick cloud of dust rushed out. The large Buddha statue still sat solemnly in the center, but its face was weathered and lifeless. At its base lay a cracked stone stele. Trung shone his flashlight. "Hey, there's writing. Forbidden crypt below. Whoever disturbs it shall die a gruesome death." Hoi shuddered. "See? I told you this place is cursed. You still want to go looking for some crypt?" But Trung's eyes burned with excitement. "Exactly. That means there's definitely a passage under this statue. This is what I've been looking for." Kai placed a firm hand on Trung's shoulder, his tone grave. "Maybe we should come back in daylight. I don't like this atmosphere." Suddenly, a loud thud echoed behind the statue, like a heavy wooden door slamming shut. The three of them spun around. The main doors had closed on their own. The air thickened, a bone-chilling cold seeping up from the ground. Trung's trembling flashlight revealed a narrow crack behind the altar. His face lit up. "There, that's the entrance." Hoi's face turned pale. "Wait, what if we're trapped in here?" Kai gripped his flashlight tightly, eyes sharp. "There's no turning back now. We'll have to go down." But we moved carefully. The three pushed hard, sliding the heavy stone aside to reveal a narrow staircase descending into the earth. A foul stench of dampness mixed with the metallic tang of old blood hit their noses. The bell tolled again. Boong, boong, this time echoing directly beneath their feet. Trung swallowed hard. "Let's go, are you ready?" Kai and Hoi said nothing, only nodding grimly. Their flashlights flickered into the gaping abyss below. Slowly, step by step, they descended into the crypt beneath the temple. The moss-covered stone steps were narrow and slippery. Their footsteps echoed into the darkness, swallowed as if by an endless void. The flashlight swept across cracked walls etched with faint drawings, spirals, distorted eyes. Hoi trembled. "What the hell are these creepy paintings? This isn't like any temple wall I've ever seen." Trung fixed his eyes on the carvings. "They look like sealing symbols. I read in an old manuscript that these spirals were used to imprison souls." Kai frowned, the uneasy feeling that dozens of unseen eyes were watching them. Suddenly, from below came a ragged breath, close. Too close. Like something had just awakened from a centuries-long sleep. They reached the ground level, a wide chamber of green stone. Low ceiling, The walls were lined with reliefs of twisted faces, half smiling, half crying. In the center stood 4 rotting wooden coffins, their lids completely broken apart. Trung stepped closer, shining his light inside, empty. No corpses, maybe they were moved. Kai shook his head. No, with wood this decayed, if there had been bodies, at least bones would remain. But here, nothing. It's like no body was ever placed inside. Just then, Hoi screamed, "Hey, I saw someone in the corner." The flashlights jerked toward it, but only revealed a broken Buddha statue. Its face cracked and shattered. Yet on the dusty ground was a long sliding mark, like someone had just slipped away into the shadows. From the burial chamber, a hallway stretched deeper into the mountain. The 3 edged forward, walls thick with cobwebs, the air choking with mildew and the stench of death. Leading the way, Kai suddenly froze. "Do you see that? A white shadow up ahead." In the flickering light, there it was. A figure in a long white ao dai. Hair loose, back turned to them, it glided slowly forward without a sound, feet never touching the stone floor. Hui's body shook violently, clutching Trung's arm. We're screwed, I'm not going any farther." Trung gritted his teeth. "Maybe it's just an illusion. We have to keep going. There's definitely a big secret here." But as they drew closer, the white figure turned around, its face completely blank. Nothing but a hollow black void. All 3 stumbled back in terror. But the corridor behind them had gone pitch dark, no way back. Hui's flashlight flickered, then died completely. In the suffocating blackness, Trung and Kai could hear Hui's heartbeat pounding wildly. Then, a cold whisper hissed against the back of their necks. "You should not have come here." Hoi screamed and collapsed. At the same moment, a freezing gust swept through, snuffing out the last beam of light. They were plunged into absolute darkness. The temple bell tolled again, "Boong, Boong," but this time, it echoed inside their heads, stabbing with searing pain. And in that instant, they realized this was no longer an adventure. The darkness had truly awakened. A sharp click echoed, and Trung's flashlight flickered back to life, though he swore the batteries had nearly died. Its weak beam lit the cold, empty corridor. The white figure was gone, but the icy chill on their necks lingered. Hoi panted, clutching his chest. "No, it was right behind me. I felt it breathing. I heard it so close." Kai gripped Hui's shoulders tightly. "Calm down. If we panic, we're dead. The only way is forward. Going back is impossible now." Trung swallowed hard, sweeping the light ahead. At the end of the corridor stood a massive stone door, carved with strange symbols. In the center was the face of a demon, mouth open wide, hollow eyes staring as if waiting. The 3 pressed against it with all their strength. The stone groaned, dust raining down as a gap slowly widened. A suffocating stench of death rushed out, so foul that Hoi gagged and nearly vomited. Inside was a vast burial chamber, far larger than the one above. In the middle rested a jet-black stone coffin atop a pedestal, encircled by dozens of stone statues in monk robes. Their faces were smeared black, as if cursed. Kai whispered, "This coffin, it's not ordinary. Something sealed inside." Trung stepped closer, his trembling hand brushing against the coffin's surface. It was freezing cold, yet for a fleeting instant, he felt a faint heartbeat from within. Hoi kept his distance, face pale as ash. Don't open it. I've got a really bad feeling." Trung turned back, eyes burning with both fear and curiosity. "If we don't open it, how will we ever know the truth? We didn't come all this way just to stop here." Even before he finished, the coffin's surface began to tremble. A thud echoed from within, like knuckles pounding. Each strike grew louder, until cracks split across the stone lid. Kai staggered back, sweat dripping down his forehead. Something in there, it's still alive? Or maybe it never truly died? The air thickened. Around them, the statues seemed to shift, their eyes all turning toward the 3 intruders. Suddenly, Trung's flashlight died again. The chamber plunged into oppressive blackness, broken only by the pounding of their hearts. In that silence, Trung heard a chilling whisper against his ear. Release me? A jagged fissure on the coffin glowed red, as though blood seeped through. Hoi collapsed to his knees, chanting frantic prayers. Kai gritted his teeth, yanking Trung backward. No, this isn't meant for the living to open. But Trung seemed entranced, unable to tear his gaze from the coffin, stepping forward as if pulled by an unseen force. The ground shook violently, dust cascading from the ceiling. From within the coffin rose a deep, guttural roar, part beast, part human, drenched in centuries of rage. At that moment, all three knew they had awakened something that was never meant to rise. The roar from the stone coffin stretched on, shaking the burial chamber like an earthquake. Chunks of plaster rained down, revealing jagged cracks snaking across the ceiling. Hoi clutched his head and screamed, his voice swallowed by the thunderous rumble. Trung stood frozen, eyes locked on the glowing red fissure across the coffin. In the dim light, his face had gone pale, yet his expression looked almost entranced, as if something was pulling him closer. Kai yanked Trung's arm hard. No, are you insane? It's luring us in. At that moment, a sharp crack rang out. From the split in the coffin, a stream of bright red liquid seeped out, dripping heavily onto the stone floor. The sickly stench of blood spread through the chamber, suffocating them. The three staggered back in panic when suddenly, the surrounding statues creaked. At first, just a trembling finger, then entire arms lifted. Carved stone faces slowly turned toward the coffin. The crimson glow from the fissure lit their hollow eyes, which now shimmered with a grim, unnatural light. One statue lurched forward, the grinding of stone on stone echoing like bones snapping, sending a chill through Kai's spine. Hoi shrieked in terror. My God, they're alive! Run, run! But where could they run? The massive stone door had sealed shut behind them, seamless as if it had never opened. There was no escape, only the encroaching statues closing in. Just then, blood from the coffin sprayed outward, splattering across the nearest statues. Strangely, the blood didn't pool on the ground, it seeped into the stone itself. Cracks along the statues filled like living veins, as if stone was turning into flesh. The statue closest to Trung stretched its neck. From its hollow black eyes, blood began to drip. A thick red trail slid down to its stone lips, curling into a grotesque, broken smile. Trung stumbled backward, heart hammering, but his legs felt nailed to the floor. Kai shouted, swinging his flashlight hard against the statue. But instead of shattering, the figure let out a guttural moan, like a distorted chant. Twisted and hollow, that eerie chant spread through the chamber. Dozens of statues raised their voices together, creating a demonic harmony. The sound drilled into their skulls, making Hoi dizzy until blood streamed from his nose. In that moment of despair, a sudden cold draft swept through. A tiny flame on an old candle in the corner burst to life. Its flickering glow revealed something carved into the wall behind the coffin. Trung screamed over the cacophony. On the wall, there's writing. It might be a warning. Kai aimed the flashlight toward it. The ancient Chinese characters were deeply etched, and droplets of blood from the ceiling ran down, painting each word in crimson. He who opens the coffin shall never escape. When blood touches the statues, vengeful souls awaken. The three of them stood in stunned silence. By now, the statues had stepped down from their pedestals, their bodies slick with blood, eyes glowing a furious red. And still, the coffin shook violently. The roar from within grew louder, like whatever was trapped inside was seconds away from shattering its stone prison. The roar from the stone coffin shook the entire chamber, while the statues around the room had already stepped down from their pedestals. Heavy stone footsteps echoed everywhere, thud, thud, but strangely, with each step, red stains spread across the floor as if blood were soaking into the tiles. Kai swept his flashlight wildly, its beam cutting across dozens of twisted stone faces, once lifeless, now deformed, smeared with blood that streamed like crimson tears. Each statue moved slowly but deliberately, as though they had waited centuries just for this moment to close in. Hoi trembled so violently he nearly collapsed. We're doomed, they're alive, they're all alive. Trung clung to the wall, his eyes bloodshot from panic. But even in the chaos, he noticed something. The statues weren't charging straight at them. They were circling, surrounding. The chamber grew suffocating with the grating sound of stone grinding. Kai yanked Hoi and Trung toward the wall, shouting over the demonic chanting. Don't just stand there, find another way out. But before they could move, a blast of icy breath struck Trung's neck. He spun around. One statue stood inches behind him, its stone face bleeding, its hollow eyes locked onto him. Trung screamed, slamming his fist against its face. A sharp clang rang out, pain splitting through his knuckles as though his bones cracked, but the statue barely shifted. Only growled. From its jagged mouth came a raspy voice. Stay here. The sound made Hui's face turn blue with terror. He shrieked, blood still pouring from his nose, his body unable to withstand the unholy resonance. By now, the statues had closed their circle. Blood dripped from their bodies into a growing pool at the chamber's center. The pool bubbled and frothed, as if something beneath was stirring. Trung glanced upward and froze. The ancient symbols carved into the walls were glowing a deep, furious red, as though the blood feeding them had awakened their power. The warning he had read before now blazed like fire, hammering in their fate. Kai gripped his flashlight tightly, bellowing, if blood woke them, then don't let it touch you. Stay away from them. With that, he swung the flashlight hard into the nearest statue. The beam struck its body, and the creature convulsed violently, blood spraying as if burned. But two more statues immediately advanced, hemming him in. In desperation, Trung's eyes darted across the opposite wall. He noticed the blood dripping from the ceiling wasn't falling freely, it flowed into a thin crack. He rushed over, wiping away grime to reveal the outline of a concealed stone door. Here, there's a way out, Trung shouted. Kai and Hoi fought their way through the circle, blood splattering across their clothes. The statues turned as one, chanting louder, the sound pounding like a funeral drum. Together, they shoved against the door, but it was monstrously heavy, as if something inside held it shut. As they strained, Trung glanced back. The statues had stepped fully into the bubbling blood pool. Their bodies were soaked crimson, eyes blazing like coals, all of them turning toward the intruders. The stone door shook, a narrow crack opening, icy wind rushing through. But at that very instant, the stone coffin's lid exploded open with a thunderclap. A heavy boom thundered through the chamber. The stone coffin's lid was hurled aside, releasing a gust of dust and icy air like a grave wind. All three turned their heads at once, their hearts stopping cold. Inside the coffin was not a withered skeleton as they had expected, but a darkened body, its skin shriveled yet intact. Hollow eye sockets stared blankly. Then for a brief instant, a red ember-like light flickered deep within. The corpse stirred, bones cracking, before it suddenly sat upright. A wave of freezing energy radiated from its body, making Kai's flashlight flicker and sputter. Hoi collapsed, screaming in terror. That's not human, it was never truly dead. The vengeful spirit in the coffin opened its mouth, not with a roar or groan, but with the piercing cry of a newborn baby. The shrill wail echoed across the chamber, drilling straight into their skulls. Trung clutched his head, collapsing as visions filled his mind, a newborn child buried alive beneath the earth. Thrashing, screaming until its last breath faded. Kai gritted his teeth, forcing himself to stay focused, yanking the others up. Don't listen, cover your ears, it's trying to deceive us. But Hoi was already entranced. In his eyes, the corpse no longer looked like a vengeful ghost, it had become the frail figure of his mother. Cradling a blood-soaked infant, he whispered weakly, "Mother, mother?" Meanwhile, the pool of blood in the center of the chamber surged upward, spreading across the stone floor like a crimson river. The stench was suffocating, steam rising off its surface. The statues submerged in the blood now moved faster, their bodies fully stained red, their glowing eyes and twisted grins horrifying in the flickering dark. The spirit climbed out of the coffin, each step shaking the ground. It didn't rush forward, instead. It raised one skeletal arm and pointed directly at the three of them. At once, the blood-drenched statues turned, shrieking in unison like a legion of starving demons. Trung screamed, "The door, push it open. Now." Together they threw themselves against the stone door. With a grinding creak, the gap widened slowly. Behind them, the statues began to charge. Footsteps pounding, thud, thud, mingled with the splash of blood, sounding like a funeral drum of death. At last, the door gave way. A pitch-black passage opened before them, an icy wind howling from its depths. Without a second thought, they hurled themselves inside. The instant they slipped through, the stone door slammed shut with a deafening crash, cutting off the statues and the spirit. Furious pounding echoed behind them, then gradually faded, dissolving into a distant, otherworldly rumble. Trung, Kai, and Hoi collapsed onto the cold stone floor, gasping, their sweat mixing with blood. Relief never came, for almost immediately they realized this place was no sanctuary. Their dim flashlights revealed a narrow tunnel, its walls carved with endless symbols. Each mark was written in dried blood, now black with age, and at the tunnel's end, a lone figure sat with its back toward them. A small candle flickered at its side, faint, unsteady, yet unmistakable. That candle had just been lit. All three stood frozen, staring at the end of the tunnel. The figure sat cross-legged, back straight, long hair draping down to his shoulders. The small candle by his side burned steadily, unmoving, though the cold wind blew without pause. Trung swallowed hard, whispering, "Down here, could someone still be alive?" Hoi shook his head violently, voice trembling. "No way, we just escaped from those demons. There's no normal person who'd be sitting here." "Trung, don't go near him." But Kai slowly stepped forward, eyes narrowed with caution. He lifted his flashlight, shining it directly onto the figure. When the beam hit, what they saw made their hearts pound wildly. The one at the tunnel's end was no living man. His flesh was ashen gray, cracked and dry like burned ash, yet still clinging to bone. His bony hands rested on his knees, fingernails long, black, and sharp like claws. The most horrifying part, carved across his back were countless ancient characters, each stroke deep, dried with old blood. On closer look, they matched the same inscriptions covering the tunnel walls. Suddenly, the figure twitched. His neck cracked sharply as he slowly turned his head. The face was revealed, empty eye sockets. No eyeballs, only two abyssal hollows like endless pits. Yet his mouth stretched into a smile that split wide across his cheeks. Before they could react, that mouth emitted a sound. Not a scream, not a growl, but chanting. A sutra recited backwards, words unraveling from end to beginning, layered and distorted. The eerie litany echoed through the tunnel, spreading like shockwaves. The walls quivered, the blood-carved symbols igniting with a red glow like burning embers. Hoi collapsed, clutching his head, screaming, "The chanting, it's crawling inside my skull. It's telling me I have to stay here, to give myself to it." Trung panicked, dragging him to his feet, though his own brain felt crushed, his vision swimming with thousands of phantom hands clawing out from the walls. Kai grit his teeth, ripping a crumpled yellow talisman from his pack. He shouted, "Bite down, don't listen. This is nothing but a soul-binding trick of the demon path." He slapped the talisman onto his chest, reciting a quick incantation. The paper glowed brightly, pushing back the dreadful sound for a moment. But then, the figure rose. He didn't walk, he slid along the stone floor, his limbs twisting unnaturally, bones cracking with every motion. He didn't rush them, only glided closer, lips moving ceaselessly, the backward chanting growing faster, harsher. The small candle beside him still burned, but instead of being left behind, it floated, hovering at his side, like a single eye following every move. Trung panted heavily, cold sweat streaming down his face, his voice choked with dread. If he catches us, we won't make it out alive." Kai clenched his fists, staring into the endless dark ahead. "There's no other way, we have to go deeper. At the end of this tunnel, there must be the secret he's guarding." Supporting one another, they ran, the haunting reversed chanting chasing them like a chorus of countless souls screaming into their ears. The three sprinted frantically through the dark tunnel, their flashlights flickering as if about to die. The backward chanting behind them did not fade, instead, it grew closer and closer, as though the figure didn't even need to walk, gliding effortlessly just a breath away from their backs. Suddenly, the narrow tunnel opened into a vast underground chamber of stone. The silence was so heavy they could hear their own heartbeats. Along the walls, countless black candles burned by themselves, smokeless flames casting a flickering, unholy glow. At the chamber's center loomed a massive stone door. Its surface was covered in sigils, wrapped tightly with rusted chains as thick as wrists, anchoring it deep into the ground. Trung stepped forward, his trembling hand brushing the icy surface. Ancient Chinese characters were carved deep into the stone, and though much had faded, a few lines were still legible. Seal of the damned, whoever opens this, their bloodline shall be erased. Kai's voice was grim. This isn't a trick, this is a true seal. That door is holding something inside. Hui's eyes locked on the door, glowing red with feverish obsession. But, I can hear it, it's calling me. It says if I open it, everything will end. As if entranced, he stumbled forward, reaching out for the chains. Just as his hand hovered inches from the door, every single candle in the chamber flared, their flames shifting from black to eerie blue. That glow froze the chanting figure in his tracks. The eyeless guardian tilted his head upward, those hollow sockets shimmering faintly. Then, without warning, he dropped to his knees, bowing deeply toward the sealed door. Kai gasped, almost losing composure. Damn it, he wasn't chasing us. He's the warden. The thing behind this door is far worse than him. The stone door began to tremble. A knock, reverberated from within, rhythmic, deliberate. With every knock, Trung, Kai, and Hui felt their blood boil, searing in their veins. Bright red beads seeped through their pores, streaking down their faces. Hui screamed, throwing himself at the door, shrieking, "Let me in, you're calling me, open the door." Trung and Kai grabbed him, straining to hold him back, but a monstrous strength surged within him, nearly flinging them off. At the peak of the door's tremors, the stone wall above cracked open, revealing an ancient stele hidden behind layers of rock. Carved into it were trembling words. The Nguyen, the Tran, the L must never open this door. The blood of their ancestors was spilled to seal the demon god. Whoever breaks it, your blood will be devoured, your lineage erased. Trung's blood ran cold as he read it. He turned to Kai, then to Hui, thrashing violently, and shouted through clenched teeth, "Hui, stop. It's not calling you because it needs you, it's because you're a descendant of those who trapped it here." But Hui no longer heard. His eyes rolled white, blood gushing from his nose and mouth. His hand closed around the iron chain. A metallic clang rang out. One of the massive links snapped loose and crashed onto the stone floor. The clattering crash echoed through the stone chamber like a death knell. As the first chain link shattered, the blue candle flames wavered violently, and the walls trembled with the sound of thousands of imprisoned souls screaming across centuries. Hui collapsed, his body convulsing. Blood gushed from his nose, ears, and mouth, pooling scarlet on the stone floor. Yet his face twisted into a grotesque smile. No longer his own. It heard me? This door will open?" Hui rasped, his blank white eyes still fixed on the sealed gate. The chanting figure, who had been kneeling in submission, suddenly lifted his head. From his hollow sockets oozed thick, black ichor. In a voice cracked and ancient, he intoned, "Blood has fallen, the seal falters. You, heirs of ancestral sin, if you cannot stop it, then perish together." He lurched to his feet, staggering toward Hui, skeletal arm outstretched to pull him from the door. But the moment his hand brushed near, his body erupted in blue flames, burning him alive. Kai shouted in horror, "It's over, even the guardian has been consumed by what's inside." From the cracked fissure, thick black smoke seeped out, curling around Trung and Kai's legs, reeking of blood and rotting flesh. Trung strained to drag Hoi back. Hoi, listen to me. If there's still anything of you left, wake up. This thing isn't blessing you. It's draining your blood to break the seal. Hoi thrashed violently, laughing hoarsely. I'll be the first chosen by it, ha ha ha. His voice warped, layered with other tones, deep, shrill, discordant, like a chorus of souls speaking through one throat. The massive door shuddered, more chains cracking. With every drop of blood, the bindings weakened. On the floor, Hui's blood spread outward, forming symbols that linked together into an ancient blood ritual circle. Kai's face went pale, shouting, "We can't let it finish. If the circle closes, the door will burst open." Trung pulled a dagger from his belt, slashing his own hand, letting his blood drip onto the glyphs to smear them out. But instead of fading, the symbols flared brighter, feeding hungrily on his sacrifice. Kai froze in shock. Damn it, the blood of any descendant is a sacrifice. All of us are fuel for this seal. From within the door, the knocking thundered like war drums. The chamber shook violently, rocks and dust crashing from the ceiling. Trung and Kai knew they had only one choice: stop Hoi, or be swallowed with the temple itself. Kai's eyes burned red, teeth clenched as he seized a heavy stone, his voice trembling with rage. "Trung, if we can't bring him back, I'll kill him before the door opens." Trung froze, still gripping Hoi tightly. Under the ghostly blue glow, Hui's face dripped with blood yet wore a maniacal grin, screaming with raw madness. "Open it, open the door for me." The ground quaked violently. Another chain snapped free with a deafening crack. Trung locked eyes with Kai, conflicted, desperate. One side was his friend's life, the other, a catastrophe ready to be unleashed upon the world. He had to decide, now. The stone ceiling quaked violently, ancient bricks shattering, dust choking the air. The thunderous rumble echoed like a death drum urging their doom. Kai gripped the heavy rock, eyes blazing with desperation. "Trung, there's no time left. If we don't kill Hoi now, we all die, and the whole world will fall with us." Trung clutched Hoi tightly, his trembling hands refusing to let go. He looked into the blood-smeared face, twisted with a grotesque smile, yet still faintly bearing the shadow of the friend who once stood beside him. "Hoi, can you still hear me? If you're still you, fight it back." But Hoi roared, his voice layered with the wails of countless tormented souls. "No, I am it. My blood is the key." Suddenly, Hoi surged with unnatural strength, flinging Trung hard to the floor. Black smoke snaked from the door's crack, wrapping around his arm, dragging each drop of his blood into the final symbols. Closing the blood ritual, Kai screamed, rushing in, slamming the rock into Hui's shoulder. Bones cracked, but instead of falling, Hoi let out a crazed laugh. His eyes rolled white. "Blood, pain, the more, the better, it makes it stronger." Kai froze in horror. Every wound only fed the ritual, hastening the seal's collapse. In despair, Trung remembered the words of the old abbot they had met before entering the temple. "Blood may open the door, but only a pure vow can chain it forever." With trembling hands, Trung pulled the last talisman from his pocket, yellowed with age. Its ink nearly faded. He shouted, "Kai, stop bleeding him. This is our only chance." He lunged forward, slapping the talisman onto Hui's chest. Instantly, golden light burst forth, driving back the black smoke. Hoi thrashed violently, screaming with rage, "No, don't take away my power." The talisman's radiance reached deep, tugging at Hui's true soul trapped in the shadows. Trung gripped his friend's shoulders, shouting into his ear, "Hoi, remember us. You, me, Kai. We swore never to abandon each other. If you give in now, everything ends." For a heartbeat, Hui's eyes filled with tears. Trembling, caught between two worlds. "Trung, it hurts so much." The black smoke howled furiously, engulfing all three, the talisman nearly tearing apart. Kai roared, throwing himself into the struggle, clutching Hoi with all his strength. "If you die, then we die with you. You're not leaving us alone. You idiot." A piercing clang rang out, the final chain split. but did not fall. At that exact moment, the talisman's light flared, searing the demonic smoke, forcing it to shriek in agony. In a desperate cry, Hoi shouted, "My blood will open the door, or my blood will seal it forever." He bit down hard on his tongue, blood gushing, soaking the talisman. The golden light exploded, flooding the chamber like daylight. The black smoke disintegrated, the massive stone door shuddered, then froze, the chains knitting themselves back together, reforging the seal. The screams died away, silence returned. Trung and Kai clutched Hoi, but his body was weak, fading. With a faint, broken smile, he whispered, "I made my choice. No demon's blood, only a friend's blood remains." The sealed door closed tight. But the price was Hoi slipping away in the arms of his two friends. The burial chamber now lay in silence. Dust drifted down from the vaulted ceiling. But everything was sealed once more. No more screams, no more chilling air, only 3 figures remained. And Hui's fading breath. Trung held Hoi tightly, tears streaming down his face. "Hoi, hold on. It's over now. We'll go home, we'll drink together again." "Argue like before?" Kai knelt beside them, his broad hand trembling like that of a child. "Hoi, you have to live. If you don't, I don't know what I'll do." Hui's eyes fluttered open, pupils clouded with blood yet glimmering faintly with warmth. "Trung, Kai, you guys, you really kept your promise in the end. You didn't abandon me." His breathing grew ragged, his voice weak as wind through a crack in the door. "I can't survive this. My blood has merged with the talisman, it's what keeps the seal intact. As long as I live, the door will have a crack." Trung shook his head violently, almost screaming, "No, that's not true. I'll find a way to save you. I swear I will." But Hoi smiled, a pained yet peaceful smile. "There is no way, you know that. From the start, I was the one chosen. I had to end this." Kai clenched his fists, slamming them into the stone floor. "Damn it, why does it have to be you? Why not me?" Hoi slowly raised a trembling hand, resting it on Kai's shoulder. "Because I was always the weakest of us 3, but this time, I did the greatest thing. Don't cry anymore, be strong. Live for me." The talisman's glow was fading, but Hui's blood kept it alight one final time. His body grew colder, lips trembling as he whispered, "Remember, never come back here? Let it sleep, forever?" A golden light flared brilliantly, like a fire burning bright before extinguishing. Then everything sank into stillness. Trung and Kai clung to Hui's lifeless body. Neither had the strength to weep, only sitting in the dark, hearts pounding with grief. When the last light vanished, a narrow opening appeared in the stone wall, leading outward. No more demonic winds, no more phantoms, just a silent passage, as if the crypt itself had granted them release. Trung carried Hoi in his arms, each step heavy as Kai led the way. Neither of them looked back. They would never again face the tomb that had stolen their friend. As the temple's wooden doors closed behind them, they lifted their eyes. The Hue sky blazed bright, birds scattering as though freed from chains. The rising sun painted the horizon red, stinging Trung and Kai's eyes. Kai whispered, "Hoi, rest in peace. We'll never forget you." Trung clenched his fist, voice hoarse. "Your blood sealed the tomb, but your soul will always stay with us. I swear I'll live as you wanted." A breeze swept across the temple courtyard, soft, fleeting, like the faint echo of a friend's laughter. Trung and Kai brought Hui's body back to their village. The entire community was draped in mourning, yet filled with reverence. Whispers spread among the people. Hoi had become the keeper of the seal, the one who saved countless lives from the grasp of demons. Hui's mother collapsed before the coffin, her wailing tearing apart the stillness of the afternoon. Trung and Kai stood silently, eyes swollen red, unable to utter a word. Inside, the grief cut like a blade lodged deep in their hearts, impossible to remove. In the days that followed, Trung and Kai returned to their everyday lives, but their minds never found peace. Each night, Trung dreamed of wandering the crypt again, hearing Hui's faint voice echo, "Trung, don't leave me behind." Kai's dreams were different. He saw black blood seeping from stone walls. Hui's face emerging within it, not with blame in his eyes, but with a silent plea for release. Doubt gnawed at both of them. Had the seal truly been closed, or only subdued for a while? One evening, as they drank by the riverbank, Trung noticed a strange bruise forming on Kai's wrist. A dark purplish mark identical to the demonic sigils carved into the crypt's walls. "Kai, what happened to you?" Trung asked. Startled, Kai glanced down, his face draining of color. I don't know. It wasn't there this morning." That night, when Trung returned home, he found something horrifying. Inside his backpack, the one he thought he had left behind at the temple, lay a half-burned talisman, soaked in dried black blood. As night fell, the wind slipped through his window, carrying a whisper. "The seal is not complete, the blood is not enough." Trung shot upright, heart pounding. The phone rang. It was Kai, his voice trembling with fear. "Trung, I just saw Hui standing outside my porch," he was smiling. But his eyes were nothing but blood. At that moment, they both understood. The nightmare was not over. The seal might not have been fully closed, and Hui's soul could be trapped at the edge of two worlds. A week later, Trung and Kai met at a roadside cafe. Trung spoke firmly, his tone resolute. "We have to go back to the temple. If we don't, one day, Hui will no longer be Hui." Kai clenched his fists, eyes bloodshot from sleepless nights. "I know, and I swear. This time, if someone has to die, it'll be me. I won't let anyone else be lost." A cold wind rustled the leaves, carrying with it a sound that felt like eerie laughter. Their journey back to the forbidden place was about to begin again. Trung and Kai journeyed back to Hu. The path to the temple was now overgrown with wild grass, moss creeping up the stone pillars. The air hung heavy, as if a gray veil of fog smothered the sky. Kai glanced around, shivering slightly. "It's only been 2 months, but this place looks abandoned for decades." Trung nodded faintly, unease tightening in his chest. When they stepped into the old sanctuary, both froze in shock. The stone crypt door, the one they had sealed, was no longer shut. A gaping, pitch-black crack yawned open, breathing out a foul, icy stench. Trung's voice trembled. "We saw it close tight that day. Who opened it?" Kai clenched his jaw. Or maybe, it was never truly closed. From within the darkness came a faint tap, 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 like fingernails rapping against stone. Deeper inside, Trung suddenly spotted something. A familiar jacket draped across a cold slab of stone. It was Hui's, stained with dried blood. Trung staggered, choking back tears. "It's his, it has to be his." At that moment, the crypt echoed with a drawn-out voice. "Trung, Kai, come down here with me." Kai gripped Trung's shoulder tightly, eyes reddened but resolute. "That's not Hui anymore. Don't let it trick you." At the end of the corridor, the ceiling wall had fractured wide, cracks spreading like a spider's web. From them, thick black smoke seeped, reeking of decay and blood. In the haze, a figure emerged, Hui's silhouette, but twisted. His face distorted, eyes burning red, laughter manic and unhinged. "You've come, finally. You've come." Kai stumbled back, his hands shaking violently. Trung stood frozen, torn between calling Hui's name or fleeing in terror. The air in the crypt grew suffocatingly cold. Trung turned to Kai, his voice firm. "We have to finish the seal, even if it costs us our lives. We can't let Hui's soul be consumed by the demon." Kai nodded, pulling out the fresh talismans he had prepared, his gaze unwavering. "This time, there will be no mistakes." The monstrous laughter echoed through the crypt, growing louder, sharper. The true confrontation was about to begin. Trung and Kai stepped cautiously into the crypt. The flashlight in their hands illuminated only a few feet ahead, the rest swallowed by pitch black. From above, the sound of dripping water echoed, each drop sharp as a needle piercing the ear. Suddenly, the rotted wooden doors along the walls rattled violently, creaking, caught Kayat. Pale hands thrust out from the gaps, clawing desperately for their legs. Kai shouted, raising a talisman. The paper ignited in sudden flame, and the hands recoiled instantly, vanishing into darkness. But Hui's chilling laughter filled the chamber, echoing from every direction. Deeper inside, they stumbled upon a horrific sight. On the stone wall, rows of rusted chains bound twisted shadows. Each shadow bore the vague shape of a human face, blurred, tormented, their mouths open in silent screams. Trung's stomach clenched as he recognized one, the face of an old monk he had once seen in an ancient photo at the temple. These were souls, imprisoned and suffering, begging silently for release. Kai's breath quickened. My God, this place doesn't just trap demons, it cages humans who died unjustly. 2. At that moment, one chain snapped with a harsh clang, and a shadow lunged straight at Trung. As he stumbled back, Hui's figure emerged clearer through the smoke. His body gaunt, his eyes glowing red, broken chains still dangling from his wrists. Hui roared, "You abandoned me. I've suffered in here every day, every hour. Why come back now?" Trung's voice trembled. "No, I came to save you. Hui, I never abandoned you." But Hui only laughed, his voice booming across the crypt. "Too late. What's inside me won't let me return. It wants blood, and it will start with you." The chamber shook violently. Stone walls cracked, dust rained down, and the screams of dozens of souls wailed in agony. Kai quickly spread talismans into a glowing circle, yanking Trung inside. "Stay here, step out, and you'll be devoured alive." Hui charged, his form mutating, half man, half demon. His elongated claws scraped the circle, sparks flaring with every strike. Trung wept, shouting desperately, "Hui, wake up, don't let it control you." But the only answer was his friend's maniacal laughter, reverberating through the depths of the earth. The screech of Hui's claws rang sharply as he raked endlessly against the barrier of talismans. Kai struggled to keep his hands steady, sweat streaming down his pale face. "It's no good, he's too strong." "Trung, the circle's about to break," Kai shouted. Trung clenched his fists, eyes brimming with tears as he stared at Hui. "Hui, I don't believe you're completely gone. If there's even a shred of you left, listen to me." For a fleeting moment, Hui's demonic red eyes flickered, like his true self fighting inside. But a monstrous roar smothered that glimmer, and he lunged forward, shattering the protective circle. Kai hurled his final talisman, chanting rapidly. A spiral of light erupted from the ground, binding Hui in chains of energy. But the demon inside him shrieked, thrashing against the bonds as if ready to tear the world apart. Suddenly, the imprisoned souls in the walls wailed in unison, hurtling toward Hui, not to save him, but to rip him apart, as though compelled to offer him as sacrifice. Kai panicked. They won't let him go. Without a blood balance, the seal will fail. He turned to Trung, eyes blazing in the fiery glow. "There's only one way, your blood. The blood of the living can forge an eternal seal." Trung froze, staring at Hui's tormented body, chained and consumed by the demon. His jaw tightened as he pulled a small dagger from his pack. "No, my blood won't save him. But at least, I can take him with me." He slashed his arm open, blood pouring onto the stone floor. Ancient runes flared to life, glowing crimson, spreading into a massive seal beneath Hui's feet. The demon roared in rage. "No, you dare betray me." But in that instant, Hui's true face flickered through, his eyes wet, gazing at Trung. "Thank you," he whispered. Then his body and the seal exploded into blinding light. When the glow faded, the crypt quaked violently. The bound souls dissolved into nothingness, leaving behind silence. Kai coughed, staggering to his feet, scanning the chamber. Trung had collapsed on the blood-stained stone, crumpled beside the spot where Hui vanished. He looked up weakly, smiling through the pain. "I kept my word, I freed you." And then his eyes closed. Kai rushed to him, clutching Trung's limp body, crying out in anguish within the cold crypt. Above, the distant toll of temple bells echoed, like a requiem, carrying away the souls that had finally been set free. 2 months after that horrifying night in the crypt, Kai still could not find peace. He took a leave from work, often returning to the abandoned temple, where Trung and Hoi had given their lives. The temple now lay silent, overgrown with weeds, yet each nightfall the sound of its bell echoed, though no hand struck it. Villagers whispered, "That bell is the souls of those who remain beneath the crypt." Kai walked quietly across the temple courtyard, his heart tightening, every toll of the bell cut into his memory like a blade. One dim moonlit night, as Kai lit incense before the main altar, a familiar voice suddenly spoke. "Kai, stop blaming yourself." He spun around, his heart nearly leaping from his chest. There, in the center of the hall, stood Trung's faint silhouette, mist-like, smiling softly as he once did. "Trung, is it really you?" Kai's voice trembled, eyes brimming with tears. Trung nodded, his gaze deep and solemn. "Hoi and we were finally freed. But there's still one grudge left unresolved." Kai's fists clenched, his throat tightening. "You mean, something down in the crypt hasn't disappeared?" Trung's figure wavered, stepping closer, as if fading with each ray of moonlight. "Hoi, part of his soul hasn't moved on. The demon still holds a fragment within him. If it isn't ended, it will return, stronger than before." Kai stood frozen, numb. He had thought it was over, but another nightmare waited ahead. Trung placed his ghostly hand gently on Kai's shoulder, his voice tender. "This time, I can't go with you. You're the only one left alive. You have to finish it." Kai bowed his head, tears falling hard. "Trung, I swear, I won't let your sacrifice, or Hui's, be in vain." The moonlight flared, and Trung's image dissolved into nothingness. The temple bell tolled again, heavy and haunting, reverberating with sorrow. After the night he saw Trung's spirit, Kai could no longer sleep in peace. He sought out the old abbot of a nearby temple and recounted everything that had happened. The monk sighed deeply. "That demon was once sealed. But the seal has long weakened. Your friend's soul died in torment. And that opened the gate. If it is not ended, the evil will find its way back into the world of the living." Kai lowered his head, his hands trembling. "Please, Master, show me how." The monk handed him a rosary of fragrant agarwood beads and an old golden talisman. "Faded with age, this is a soul-binding charm. But remember, you must have true courage. Once you enter, there may be no path of return." Kai nodded firmly. In his heart, only one thought remained. He had to free Hoi and Trung. That night, carrying a flashlight, incense, the beads, and the talisman, Kai returned to the abandoned temple. The rotted wooden crypt door stood ajar, as if waiting for him. The air inside was freezing, damp mold filling his lungs. He drew a deep breath and descended. The path was familiar, the moss-covered walls, the place where Trung had fallen, all of it came rushing back in his memory. Kai clenched his fists and pressed forward step by step. A guttural growl rose from the shadows. A figure staggered into view, Hoi. But his friend's eyes now glowed crimson, his skin a sickly shade of violet, his voice breaking with anguish. "Kai, run, I can't hold it back anymore." The demon inside Hoi shrieked, its voice a twisted blend of sobs and insane laughter. It lunged at Kai with such force that he was nearly thrown to the ground. On his knees, Kai fumbled for the golden talisman, his hands trembling. He shouted, "Hoi, listen to me, you're not the demon, you're my friend." For an instant, Hui's eyes flickered, as if a fragment of his true self had resurfaced. Kai seized the moment, pressing the talisman to Hui's chest. The crypt quaked violently, deafening screams rattling the stone, dust pouring from the ceiling. Hoi writhed in agony, screaming hoarsely, "Kai, kill me, I can't take it anymore." Kai broke down in tears, clutching the agarwood beads, chanting the sutra the monk had taught him. Light burst from the talisman, radiant and pure, slicing through the shadows of the crypt. The demon's roar was torn apart, echoing like thunder before fading. Hoi collapsed, his face returning to peace. Before fading away, he smiled faintly and whispered, "Thank you, at last. I'm free." Kai fell to his knees, vision blurred with tears. For a brief moment, he saw both Hoi and Trung standing together, nodding at him before vanishing into the light. Silence settled over the crypt. No more screams. Only emptiness and the faint scent of incense lingering in the air. Kai dragged himself back to the surface, gazing at the clear night sky, the full moon shining bright. He whispered, "I swear, I'll live for the both of you." From then on, the ancient temple sank into silence. The midnight bell no longer tolled. And the people said, the souls had finally found peace. The story ends here. Thank you for listening until the very end. If you enjoyed it, please give me a like and subscribe to support the channel. If you have any questions or notice any mistakes in the story, leave a comment below. Thank you for watching. Bong Toi Trong Dem will see you again in the next tale.